Steelworkers in Pennsylvania are enraged after Donald Trump promised to block the sale of U.S. steel to Japan's Nippon Steel Company once he becomes president. Wait, now hold on here. What's exactly what's going on with this deal? Okay, I'll get into the details. But first, one of the steelworkers. This is United Steelworkers Local 2227 Vice President Jason Zugai, a Trump supporter, said, quote, "I am very frustrated with the news that came out last night." This was during a panel discussion on Tuesday in Washington, D.C. He said, "I didn't expect that to come out, so that was like a gut punch." Now, Zugai is in favor of this deal, this merger, which would give the Japanese company a foothold in the U.S. steel industry. So now, look, originally some of the union leaders were understandably against the deal, right? You got a foreign company coming in saying, "Oh, we're gonna buy up, we're gonna merge our companies here, we're gonna acquire you," and then what is that going to mean for our jobs? What is it going to mean for our communities? So naturally, understandably, there was like, I don't know about this one. And there's still steel workers in the area that are like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't necessarily trust a foreign company. But that said, the leaders apparently started to support it after meeting with Nippon representatives back in October. During a meeting, they were promised that, hey, don't worry, we're not going to get rid of jobs. We're going to increase jobs. We're going to invest in the area. So we're going to invest $1 billion into the community, and we're going to grow the plant. We're going to grow jobs. Okay. So now after that, it's like, oh, well, it looks like, when it comes to the details, as long as our jobs aren't threatened, and as long as you're going to actually be investing money into our communities, well, that's a good thing because, look, let's be honest, U.S. Steel needs a lot of help, okay? A lot of help. So now Local 2227 President Jack Masco was also among a group of local union leaders who have been lobbying on behalf of the sale. He says he believes the majority of Mon Valley workers are now in support of it, including 95% of the employees he represents at Irving Steelworks. So this apparently has a majority support. Now, as I mentioned, Zugai is a Trump supporter. He had even met with Donald Trump after organizing trips of steelworkers to Trump rallies. He met Trump one-on-one, had a conversation with him, and convinced Trump, apparently, although apparently not, to try to take another look at the Nippon Steel deal based on the support of the workers, whom I just mentioned, the majority support this deal. Now, in the Pittsburgh area, where U.S. Steel employs about 3,500 people, the company's sale had proved to be actually quite popular with the workers. So they're like, yeah, let's let the sale go forward so that we can invest in our community and do better. So now, if you're promising to invest $1 billion into the community, among other investments, right, and into the workers, it's hard not to see why this would be popular. Now, whether it happens or not, who's to say, right? Because there are companies that will come in and make a whole bunch of promises and then not do it, all right? So that's fair, right? Now, those pushing for the deal point to Nippon's pledge to, per The Guardian, invest no less than $2.7 billion into its unionized facilities, introduce our world-class technological innovation, and secure union jobs so that American steel workers at U.S. Steel can manufacture the most advanced steel products for American customers. So, $1 billion into the community, $2.7 billion into its unionized facilities to keep union jobs. All right. That's a hell of an offer. Whether or not they can actually follow up on it, well, that is the question, right? But what's Trump going to offer? I mean, Trump's a negotiator, right? So obviously you'd have to have like a counter offer and to say, well, this is why we're going to block their offer because I got a better one. Well, turns out he does not have a better offer. In fact, he posted on Truth Social that instead of allowing this merger, the sale to go forward, he would be doing a, quote, series of tax incentives and tariffs. We will make U.S. steel strong and great again, and it will happen fast. As president, I will block this deal from happening. Buyer beware. Wait, hold on. So he's offering tax incentives, not for the workers, but for the company, for U.S. Steel, which are paid for by what? The taxpayers, okay? Because where do you think those tax incentives come from? And then the tariffs on foreign imports, which are another tax on the consumers. So looking at Trump's offer, that's just a bunch of tax increases on average working people, whereas Nippon Steel is offering, hey, we're going to actually pour money into the community and to keep these high-paying union jobs, and we're going to do a lot of investment and bring your steel up to world class. Gee, no wonder people are not exactly thrilled with Donald Trump's blocking of the deal here. Okay. Now, other local leaders have expressed frustration that neither Trump nor members of Congress have come up with their own plan to provide needed financial investment in the Mon Valley if the Nippon deal is blocked. In fact, West Mifflin Mayor Chris Kelly quipped, maybe Trump has concepts of a plan. Ah, yes, the famous concepts of a plan. Well, I just told you what that plan is. It's tax increases on working people. Congratulations. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro said, I have been convening people to the table with all the relevant parties to try and see if there's some deal to be had that will protect jobs in western Pennsylvania and importantly have a future for steelmaking in the Mon Valley. So Shapiro said this after meeting with Zugai. And so, look, man, here's the thing. As I mentioned before, Nippon could be lying about their investment. Again, there's a lot of companies that have come in with massive promises, to do a lot of investment, and then they don't follow through with that. And usually American taxpayers are on the hook. Okay, so that is certainly possible here. And so if you don't trust them, I get why. But at the same time, you look at what Trump's offering, which is no investment and basically tax increases. And so if you're a worker there, you're wondering, okay, do I want to take the chance, the off chance that, yes, Nippon might be lying, but if they're not, well, then their investment is going to help revitalize the steel industry, revitalize our city, and protect our jobs. So what am I going to go with? This could, promise that could not be true, or just nothing. A promise of more tax increases on us. Apparently, the answer is from most of the membership is, let's take that chance. Trump, get the F out of our way. And this is coming from, again, people who voted for him. So, look, if Trump's supposed to be a world-class deal maker, then he should actually come up with a good deal. Is he going to? Unlikely. But you know what? Maybe we'll see. But so far, his workers, his voters, and these workers in the steel industry are not exactly impressed with the promises that Trump is making. Outgoing President Joe Biden is apparently giving President-elect Donald Trump a head start in expanding prisons for immigrants. According to The Guardian, for the last year, the Biden administration has been in the process of extending the contracts for private prisons. Yes, the private prisons that will be used to house undocumented immigrants rounded up by Donald Trump's deportation force. So, yeah, there you go. Guardian investigation has found that the administration has been exploring options for expanding detention capacity. This is, again, under Joe Biden, not Donald Trump. Shocker. Turns out Crime Bill Joe is giving a nice little handoff gift to Donald Trump. Not only is he giving Trump the keys to the castle, okay, the keys to the White House, like he's supposed to, But now he's saying, oh, yeah, by the way, I'm getting ready for you to throw millions of people into immigrant prisons. Congratulations. Great. Awesome. Now, The Guardian reviewed hundreds of pages of contracting documents, government statements, inspection reports, and private prison contractor calls with investors, and found that ICE has been working on extending at least 14 contracts with private prison companies to run a number of immigration detention centers across the country against significant opposition from Democrats and advocates. So now, this is really important, right? He'd been working on this for the last year. So wait, but what he was running for re-election, and then when he stepped down, Kamala Harris took over. So that means that even if he had won, or Kamala Harris had won, they were still planning on doing more imprisonments, detentions of undocumented immigrants. So that's very important context here, right? But now that Donald Trump's coming, this is going to help him out even more, because he does plan on doing this massive deportation force, which he's going to need these prisons. He's going to need these prison camps, essentially, to house them all. So lovely. Now, a lot of those facilities have fallen under intense scrutiny by federal government watchdogs over allegations of bad conditions, deplorable conditions, perhaps. Now, the White House has so far resisted protests from congressional Democrats and campaign groups about the scale and the standard of detention. In fact, according to Silky Shaw, executive director of Detention Watch Network, the Biden administration has increased the number of people in detention, doubled down on anti-immigrant Trump-era deterrence policies, and expanded detention capacity in direct conflict with its own promises to end for-profit incarceration and bring fairness to the immigration system. Are we surprised? You shouldn't be. The White House has gone right-wing on immigration. And even during Kamala Harris's campaign, which started out promising, they immediately went right-wing. They muzzled Tim Walz, started, traveling around with Mark Cuban and Liz Cheney, and was going right-wing on immigration. Oh, no, see, it was Donald Trump. He made sure to, get Republicans to crash their own immigration bill, and I would totally bring that back. The incredibly draconian immigration bill? Yes, Trump had an 86th because he wanted to run on immigration. That said, this was a terrible immigration bill. Cruelties upon cruelties. That's what it's been about. That's apparently the people in power, Joe Biden included. Donald Trump's going to take that cruelty and amplify it. And Biden's basically giving him the tools to be able to do so. So great. No surprise to me. This is no surprise to me that he's helping Trump set up his immigration jails. All right. Shaw said, let's be clear, Trump's return to the White House and his unprecedented mass deportation and immigration detention agenda will be catastrophic for all Americans. Families face being split up and communities turned upside down. That's apart from huge cost and economic production implications. Biden now has a last chance to take decisive action to prevent catastrophe for millions of people and avoid handing the keys to an expanded and inhumane detention and deportation system to the next administration. There are no signs of such action so far in Biden's waning weeks, said The Guardian, and there will not be. Look, when Donald Trump won, private prison companies, their stocks went way up. All right? Simple as that. They know they're going to make a killing when Donald Trump comes into power. And Joe Biden is totally fine with that because Joe Biden's not a progressive. He is center-right on most issues, crime and immigration, especially. Now, I'm not saying he wasn't good on labor. Yeah, he was pretty decent on labor compared to a lot of the last presidents, right? The most recent ones. But on almost every other issue, objectively, he's to the right. Simple as that. And now, instead of helping to strengthen the institutions against Donald Trump, he is doing this kind of stuff. He is helping Trump. Documents reviewed by The Guardian show that ICE is in talks to add bed space in New Jersey, the Midwest, and several West Coast cities that would add capacity to detain a total of at least 4,850 more people, amid plans to create new facilities or expand existing ones. It's in addition to the almost 39,000 people currently held in federal immigration custody. Oh, and there's way, way more planned than this. Damon Heininger, president and CEO of private contractor CoreCivic, said during a post-election call with investors, quote, Biden's push is already the greatest level of procurement activity we've seen with ICE in over a decade, demonstrating the continued need for additional detention solutions in various locations throughout the U.S. Brian Evans, CEO of Geo Group, during a call with his investors after Trump's victory, said this to us is an unprecedented opportunity to assist the federal government and the incoming Trump administration toward achieving a much more aggressive immigration policy with regard to interior enforcement and border enforcement, and the removal of criminal aliens predominantly from this country. So they can't wait, by the way, to put nonviolent immigrants into their prisons. Why do I say nonviolent? Because they don't want the violent ones. No. They don't make as much money off the violent ones because they actually require more resources, right? More resources means more money that they have to spend. And obviously, if you are a nonviolent immigrant, okay, who just happens to be here illegally, well, I mean, that's gonna make you more money. It's gonna make you a lot of money housing these people with these federal contracts. And so, yes, they want the nonviolent offenders. That's who's going to be put into these prisons. Okay, that's how this works. Now, look, these same prisons, by the way, have already been caught mistreating prisoners. I know, not exactly shocking, but in September, a federal watchdog report on 17 unannounced inspections at ICE detention facilities spread across the country found evidence of horrific conditions. For example, inadequate food and water, negligent or abusive medical care, unsanitary conditions, failed plumbing, physical abuse by the guards, and much, much more. So yeah, and the number of those are going to increase now thanks to more and more people that are going to end up being put into these prisons. Senator Cory Booker said in a statement to The Guardian, quote, it is deeply concerning that ICE would expand private detention facilities now, just months before the inauguration of a president-elect who has promised to terrorize immigrant communities by detaining and deporting millions of people. I will continue to fight to ensure that detained immigrants are treated with dignity and that we value the well-being of immigrant communities in New Jersey above the share price of for-profit detention corporations. We'll see if that happens. We'll see if Democrats actually do try to fight this. I don't have a lot of faith in them, okay? And I'm just being honest about that. And maybe they'll surprise us, or maybe they won't. Esmeralda Santos, lead organizer with the Inland Coalition for Immigrant Justice, said, it's really just a step backwards. We're seeing Biden replicate some of the policies Trump was interested in, and it's really discouraging to see that. I thought we could have more faith in Biden. He let us down, honestly. Look, man, here's the thing. You can go back and you can look back in 2020 where I was railing in the primary against Joe Biden. I said, he's never going to be the man to meet the moment. And this is why. Okay, Biden never let me down because I never had any high expectations of him. All right. And maybe you did. All right. I get it. But maybe you should, at this point, have learned by now to not have high expectations of Joe Biden. All right. For me, this is like, yeah, no shit. All right. Of course. Of course, he's going to help out Donald Trump. Of course, he's going to go right wing on immigration. Are we surprised? No. No. Unfortunately, now, thanks to that, we have Donald Trump coming back in. And now we are going to see just how badly things are going to get under Trump with help from Biden. The CEO of a major health insurance company was brazenly gunned down on the street Wednesday morning in what police have called a premeditated, pre-planned, targeted attack. According to authorities, United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson was killed outside the New York Hilton Midtown on 6th Avenue as he was on his way to speak at United Health Group's investor conference. So, a gunman who had been lying in wait for several minutes had approached him from behind and fired at least once into his back and at least once into his right calf, according to Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch at a news conference on Wednesday. Chief of Detectives Joseph Kenney said that the motive, they didn't have a motive yet. They're currently unknown. But based on the evidence we have so far, it does appear the victim was specifically targeted. There's video of this floating around, and if you've seen it, most of you probably have by now, so I don't really think I need to show you. But in that video, there's like a bystander. In fact, there were several bystanders that had passed by him, or that the shooter had passed by, and one apparently was trying to get out of there and didn't even want to spill his coffee, so wasn't really in too much of a rush. So yeah, very targeted, right? Now, Joseph Kenney said, quote, "At this point, we do not know why he was targeted." Well, at this point, the gunman, who was still at large, only he knows for sure. But there is some speculation out there which would, to me, make sense. Why? Well, it's because United Health is kind of infamous for denying massive amounts of insurance claims. Now, I'm going to get to some of those details in a bit, but first, according to former FBI supervisor Rod D'Amico, Thompson's slaying has all the markings of a personal vendetta tied to the victim's company. In fact, Thompson's wife, Paulette, noted that there were threats made against her husband. She told NBC News on Wednesday, quote, "Yes, there had been some threats. Basically, I don't know, a lack of coverage? I don't know details. I just know that he said that there were some people that had been threatening him." Now, there's another piece of evidence here found by police that backs up the, being targeted mainly for his business activities, and that's bullet casings with the words "deny, defend, and depose" written on them. Wow. Now, a lot of people have linked that to a book by Jay Feinman titled "Delay, Deny, Defend: Why Insurance Companies Don't Pay Claims and What You Can Do About It." The 2010 book reveals how insurance companies have developed unethical practices of delaying or denying legitimate claims, sharing dozens of stories involving major insurers while counseling readers on how to make insurance buying decisions and pursue disputed claims. Yikes. So when you look into United Health, they're an industry leader in denying legitimate medical claims. In fact, up to a third of all claims are denied by the company. You can see 32% of denial, it's a denial rate of legitimate claims. Understand that that's kind of how they make so much money, to the tune of an expected $450 billion in revenue in 2025. Okay. And so that's a lot of money. Now, revenue, right? Well, personally, Thompson brought home about $10 million in compensation. So why is the denial rate so high? Much, much higher. Well, it turns out that United Health was sued back in 2023 for knowingly using a faulty artificial intelligence algorithm that would deny elderly patients coverage for extended care deemed necessary by their doctors. In fact, according to the complaint, the elderly are prematurely kicked out of care facilities nationwide or forced to deplete their family savings to continue receiving necessary medical care. All because United Health's AI model disagrees with their real live doctors' determinations. United Healthcare, Humana, and CVS have all faced criticism for using AI to deny Medicare Advantage post-acute care authorizations, prioritizing profits over patient care. Denial rates for post-acute care were significantly higher than other care types, with United Healthcare and CVS having rates 3 times higher and Humana 16 times higher. Oh, and the error rate, by the way, on these denials, specifically for elderly patients, is around 90%, meaning that 90% of their denials were illegitimate. So, gee, if you're wondering why people might be mad, yeah. Now that said, we don't know the motive yet, but I'm willing to bet that this could be the reason. Okay. Look, I'd be very surprised if this wasn't a result of United Health's business practices and the fact that they had spent over $100 million in lobbying Congress since 1998 to kill things like single-payer healthcare, for example, or to, stop Congress from doing any legislating to prevent things like this. It wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me. That said, it might be something else. Thompson might have made other enemies as well, according to reporter Ken Kliftenstein, who posted in the Substack. In May, the Hollywood Firefighters Pension Fund had filed a lawsuit against Thompson, alleging that he had sold over $15 million in United Health stock, despite being aware of an active Justice Department antitrust investigation. Thompson did not disclose the existence of that investigation to investors or the public. So it could be a rich guy that maybe hired a hitman or something to kill him. I don't know. Now, United Health, the lawsuit alleges, was aware of the Justice Department investigation since at least October of 2023. The public would only learn of the case when the Wall Street Journal published a story about it on February 27th, 2024. When news of the investigation broke, it erased almost $25 billion in shareholder value. But by that time, Thompson had already cashed out, selling over $15 million personally held United Health shares per the suit. So, yeah, a lot of this information that I just gave you is probably why a lot of people on the internet are not shedding any tears for Mr. Thompson. And also why a lot of people aggrieved by United Health are sharing stories like this. I've had UHC for the last several years. I have stage 4 metastatic lung cancer. We've just left UHC because of all the denials for my meds. Every month there's a different reason for the denial. As of today, we are well over our max out of pocket for the year, with having spent well over $20,000. Since we are in our 60s, we don't have time to recoup that. Like someone else said, do better. I'm sharing a GoFundMe later today, says Rebel But Coding, because apparently the only way to keep yourself alive in this capitalist crap hole is to crowdsource healthcare that big insurance companies like UHC are allegedly supposed to provide. You exacerbated my father's agonizing battle with cancer until his final breath, and now you're just trying to throw my mother's life away at UHC just so your CEO, Brian Thompson, can take home tens of millions of dollars. This year, you all deserve to rot in hell. That was before all this. But these stories are coming back out. And then from a former worker at UHC in the 90s, I worked for them after they took over the MetLife Health Division as team leader, and we were instructed to decline large health claims. The patients had to go through the agonizing process of appeals. Just wrong, hated doing it, and eventually left after a few months after their takeover. And then we also have, on the doctor's side, a letter. Dear buttheads at the insurance company. I love the opening of that letter. I can't believe it has come to this. I have to take time away from my patients to inform them that you are idiots. This whole experience makes me want to vomit. But of course, I wouldn't dare throw up without the approval of my insurance company. Which brings me to my point. Apparently, you have decided that a child receiving chemotherapy has no reason to be nauseated. I didn't think I was unnecessarily writing prescriptions for antiemetics for, obviously the person's name is redacted, Obviously, you would know better about the side effects of chemotherapy than me, my peers, and the entire scientific community, going all the way back to Dr. Sidney Farber. I suppose my alternative to Zofran and scopolamine is to let the person know that the nausea is all in his head. However, I don't imagine that you would cover any psychology consultation either. So I'll just tell whoever to stop throwing up. Thank you for that simple solution. You have saved your greedy blood-sucking corporation shareholders a great deal of money, I'm sure. Of course, that would be the bottom line. Feel free to contact me if you need further information about how much you guys suck. Now, you would be mistaken to think that it's just United Healthcare that does this. No, a lot of these same insurance companies are screwing people over for profit. It's just that United Healthcare is the most extreme example. Now, what happened recently is Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield recently floated a change of policy, saying that they would no longer pay for anesthesia care if the surgery or procedure goes beyond an arbitrary time limit. Huh. Yeah. So now, about an hour ago, news came out that, they're going to reverse that policy now. Turns out, bad idea. Gee, I wonder what caused them to rethink this one. But understand that stuff like this is why a lot of people are not having much sympathy for, Mr. Thompson, okay? Which is causing some people, of course, to clutch their pearls and talk about how dare you celebrate the death of a CEO. Now, here's the thing. I'm not condoning murder, okay? I think murder is wrong. I know. But I do understand and share the lack of sympathy here, okay? Look, 64% of the nearly 25 million uninsured Americans currently cite the cost of health insurance as the reason why they don't have it. They can't afford it. While these guys take home tens of millions of dollars, and then even if you have insurance, still end up denying you. Okay? You have tens of thousands of people that die each year because they can't afford health insurance. But as I mentioned before, even if you have health insurance, especially United Healthcare Group, you're going to be denied life-saving medications and procedures despite paying exorbitant premiums. So, yeah, is it really a surprise if, that people are not really having a lot of sympathy for UHG or the CEO at this point? And would it really be a surprise if the shooter, who has not yet been identified, ends up being someone burned by this company? Maybe a former, patient or a subscriber, or even someone who had worked for UHG? It wouldn't surprise me, considering that we live in a country where it's actually cheaper and easier to get a gun than it is to actually be able to get healthcare. Now, I'm not excusing or encouraging violence. Far from it. Okay? But I'm just pointing out that when people are pushed to the very brink, as a law of nature, some of them are going to push back. And maybe it would be great to have not gotten to this point in the first place. Because as we've seen, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.